According to the American Process, there are about 43 million people who are in debt from student loans in the United States. What this number says to me is that people go into debt to follow their dreams, to be somebody. People should be able to access free education to better themselves in society. Money should not stop a person to pursue their dreams of becoming something better. I believe people shouldn't have to work multiple jobs just so they could pay for an education. When you sign up for college, you meet with an advisor to go over what is it that you need in order to graduate from the degree you are seeking. After meeting with your advisor, you meet with financial aid. This person in the financial aid department goes over how much classes are and additional necessities you need for the class you are taking. The average class for a city college is about $130. The average class for a university is about $500. The books you need for the class will cost you about $300. The books are also the same price as a community college and a university. Admission fees, notebooks, and textbooks, this all adds up. This is where you start to think, how are you going to pay for all this? FAFSA does help, but what happens when it doesn't cover all of it? You are still responsible for the rest. Now you are signing papers to take out loans to cover the rest of the cost of your semester. Not only does the individual have to worry about tuition, they have living expenses and transportation to pay for as well. We can make college for free by increasing taxes on the wealthy. Wealthy citizens will pay higher taxes they can use for medical and educational purposes. We can increase taxes on all citizens, but it will be based off a person's income. Decreasing funds such as in the military, law enforcement, politician, and general government. We can make it state funded as well. Increase taxes on the stocks and bonds as presidential candidate Bernie Sanders suggested. I believe more money should be invested in the education for our children that will one day run this world instead of funding jails. If we fund schools, our children can have a better education and more possibilities of obtaining a college degree. Free education will primarily benefit the students from urban communities. This will give opportunities to stay off the streets, gangs, and violence, and drugs, and focus on getting an education that will benefit them as well as the community. How is it fair that an inmate that committed a crime to receive free education in jail, but a student seeking a college degree must drop out for insufficient money to pay for the class and books? The more educated people in our cities, the less odds that people will commit crimes, causing significant decrease in jail population. According to the article written on July 13, 2017, called National Debt Topics 2017, they explain how the federal education budget constitutes only a small portion of education spent in the United States. In the article, Prison Overcrowding, Should More Prisons Be Built to House the Rapid Growing U.S. Prison Population? Written on January 16, 2004, it explains the amount spent yearly on an inmate in prison. The cost of a holding inmate in a federal state prison is roughly about $20,000 a year. During the Bush administration, he spent $46 billion annually in funding prisons. How is it possible that only a small portion of the American budget is spent in education and bettering our kids, but jails are getting more funding yearly? Our children have a right to equality of education. It is not fair for a student in a public school to be limited to his or her education resource only because he or she lacks funding needs. Equality of education means everyone should be able to receive high quality education regardless of social economic status. According to the encyclopedia, stress is defined as a physical, chemical, and emotional development that causes strains that lead to physical illness. School is already stressing. Why add more? School's already stressing. Why add the stress of school debt to the list? Stress could affect the student's ability to perform well in the class or an exam. Minimizing the stresses for a student can lead to a higher student's achievement. Not only stress can lead to poor achievement, but a body to expose to the prolonged amount of time under stress, it could lead to more serious conditions such as anxiety. Anxiety is a psychological condition that must be treated with medication that causes unpleasant side effects. I thought when I heard that New York was going to have free college tuition, it was the best thing. According to the article by Jamal Devers, New York will have free college tuition to the middle class people. This does nothing for low income families that need it the most. According to an article by Matt Berwin, he stated that it's pointless to give out welfare for people to go to college for free. He states that only 2% of low income families and 2% of wealthy families go on to better their education. He goes on to say that we need to ask questions with questions, as in, does living with your family make tuition cheaper, or if you take a room and board, rather than take room and board. Regardless of what the negativity has to say, I say let it be free. According to an article in Why You Should Pay for College Yourself, they give a number of reasons of why you should pay for college yourself. Reasoning from learning responsibilities, managing your own money, and it being a vital life skill. The article goes on to explain it's less stress on your parents and how students get better grades knowing that they pay for their own classes. My nurse manager has told me a story of how she finished high school and knew she wanted to become a nurse. She decided on Loyola College to achieve her dream as becoming a nurse. FAFSA and Pell Grants didn't really help her as she decided to live on campus. Not only did she have to worry about how she was going to pay the rest of her tuition, she had to maintain her GPA for her to continue the nursing program. She worked 2 jobs and was a full-time student at Loyola. She managed to stay on top of her grades and was able to graduate with a bachelor's of nursing. When I asked her what would have helped her during this time to make it less stressful, I wasn't surprised when she said if they wouldn't have made college so expensive. I would have had much less stress, sleepless nights, and crying nights. I have been blessed with a very supportive family that has helped me during this time. My family has been there to help me with tuition and childcare. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be in school. There were many times where I had to wait for a semester to start so I could save up some money to pay for what FAFSA didn't. The payments were not cheap. I will have to save up as much as I can, and my family will help me with what they can. It bothers me to think of people who I know can't attend school because they need to work. I have friends who dropped out of school, and especially nursing school, because they couldn't pay their bills and needed to work. Free college tuition will not only help me, but will help many Americans who have a dream of becoming something better for themselves. I also have papers for statistics.